Well, welcome back to part 2 of Taco Tuesday, Istanbul style. Woo! It's a hot day today, NJ. It's like it's the morning, and it's pretty hot here in Lindos, Greece. Anyways, but before we came to Lindos, we spent 5 days in Istanbul, and then we spent 5 days on a boat floating around the Aegean Sea. And with Mustafa and his family, that was pretty incredible. What was most memorable before we get into the Taco Tuesday, the food, what was the most memorable thing for you on that boat trip?
Probably just how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
The water.
The water was so crystal clear, hey?
Yeah.
And there's just that magical blue color. Yeah, for me, it was, when we first got on the boat, I was almost a little bit worried. I'm like, what are we going to do for 5 days just floating around, on a boat, right? But then quickly, I would say within the first few hours, I just completely got into it. Because I would just sit on the front deck for hours upon hours, just looking at the scenery, looking at the water, looking at the trees, looking at those big, beautiful mountains that were in the distance. They were like almost like a big face of a cliff. They just went straight up into the sky. That was pretty. The whole thing was pretty magical, and it was a chance for all of us as family to just, have some bonding time and forget about the life back home and work for a bit and just do something completely different. So, pretty awesome time. But back to Istanbul and Taco Tuesday. NJ, are you ready to break this down?
Yeah.
Are you ready to break this down?
We're gonna break it down.
We're breaking it down. We're gonna break down Taco Tuesday, Istanbul style. I thought, what better way to explore a city other than to, book some experiences. So I went on Airbnb. I did some Airbnb experience bookings. We did 2 food tours, right? So one we did an evening walking food tour, and the next day we did a day tour. And one thing both tours had in common was the food was just incredible. Hey, NJ?
Amazing.
The first food tour we went was the second day in Istanbul, and I would think my most memorable time there, the one thing most closest to being back in Mexico was that fish burrito.
Yeah.
Right? So we stopped at where all the fish market is and the pier, lots of people fishing. And there was this one guy, and he was pretty famous. He was called Super Mario, hey?
Yeah.
So Super Mario is known all over the world, and people come to see this guy, and he makes this very specific fried fish that goes inside basically a flour tortilla, for lack of a better description, and then they kind of crisp it a little bit, and then they serve it wrapped up, and you eat that. And it was crispy, it was juicy, and it had so much flavor. So to me, that was almost like going for a burrito. We've showcased one time the burritas by the airport, where you would get the burritas de Marlin, and that would be the closest thing to Mexican that we had on that one particular tour. And so after that evening tour, NJ, what did you, during that evening tour, what was most memorable for you? Which was the stop most memorable?
I would have to say Super Mario's.
The Super Mario's, the same one.
Those stuffed mussels are pretty good too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the stuffed mussels. So when we were going on the street, you'd see all these guys kind of with these boards, and they'd have these mussels, but they looked like they were just uncooked regular mussels, because they were closed, right? So I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I've never seen anyone, eat a raw mussel before. So I thought that would be interesting. But what it was they cooked the mussel, and then they made this, I guess it was like a mix of rice and, what was it? Rice and cheese and the actual mussel itself.
Yeah, I think it was just rice and the mussel.
And the mussel. And then they restuffed it back in and then closed it. And then you got it, you opened it, and then you just ate it. So that was a pretty cool dish. All right, so then fast forward to day number 2. Hey, Angie, we got up early one morning, and we went to meet our tour guide. Link in the description. He's got a Airbnb experience, and this is a must-do. If you're coming to Istanbul and you want to see really understand the entire food scene there, you got to go see Ahmed. So Ahmet, we met in Istanbul, and here's a flashback to our little introduction. Anyways, we're waiting for our tour guide, Ahmet, and I think you should be...
Well, hello,
Oh my
you're
God,
Joe, right?
it's Ahmet.
You're Joe, right?
I am
And
Joe.
you're Nicholas.
Yes.
Yeah, how did I know?
Nicholas Jack.
Nicholas Jack. How are you doing, Jack?
Or you could be NJ.
MJ, yeah.
No, N,
N,
J.
NJ.
Like Nico Giacomo.
Like, or Nicholas J.
Or Nicholas Jack.
Yeah.
So after we met Ahmet, did all of our intros, we learned a few words in Turkish. Merhaba, which is hello. Nasılsın, which is how are you. Çok iyi, which is I am well or very well. And harika, which is excellent. Oh, pretty good, hey? I've got that Turkish up there in my head.
Fluent.
So Ahmet took us on what was like the endless food tour, which I think we paid around $50 US. Maybe it was $51 US for this tour, and we were with him for close to 4 hours, NJ. And we saw every single hidden food stop in this one area of Istanbul. So our first stop was the spice market, right, NJ?
Yeah.
And then we saw the like that tea shop.
The tea and Turkish delights.
Tea and Turkish delights, and not all Turkish delights are made equal, and they had some really good Turkish delights in there and some pretty expensive ones, and because it was heading up to Adelaide's birthday, I think they gave her a very special Turkish delight, which was normally one of the most expensive per kilo, so she got to try that. But I don't think he let you try it, did he, NJ?
No,
he didn't. Ahmet. And that was one thing in particular, like all the people were so friendly and so welcoming, eh? Like they were genuinely excited to have you in their business and really show you what they accelerate at. And then from there, I believe we went to, still through the same market, but we hit the olive place. And we saw all those different kind of olives, and we got to try them, and they were just, every single color of olive that you could ever see was there. And isn't the natural color of the olive, it's what they actually end up marinating the olive in. But just gives it a very nice texture, a little bit of a different flavor, and I really like the pink ones. Hey?
Yeah.
How about you?
The pink ones are my favorite.
The pink
too.
ones were your favorite as well? Wow, and then after that little introduction to Istanbul, the spice market, hitting those olives and the cheese, we went to this little hidden restaurant where it was mostly just local people. So I didn't see any tourists at all. Did you see any tourists in there? Like this was a local gem. And we started with the chorba, which chorba means soup. And it was delicious. It kind of reminded me a little bit like, completely different than birria, but the same concept. Had like the nice fatty lamb, a nice hearty broth, and you didn't have to put anything in it. ANJ, like it just had so much rich flavor. And Ahmet was explaining that, you know what, even during the Corona times, right? Like they were like encouraging people to go have like soup, right? Like so if you're feeling a little bad, go get a nice bowl of soup, and you know there's just some comfort behind a nice bowl of soup. And I thought that was it. I thought, well, here's our stop. We're gonna have this chorba, we're gonna have this beautiful soup. So this nice bowl of soup, and then all of a sudden this big platter comes of every single kebab you can imagine. We had lamb kebab, we had eggplant kebab, we had chicken kebab. What other kind of kebab did we have, NJ?
That was about it.
But there was just a lot.
There was a lot.
There was a lot.
Lots of pita.
Lots of pita. So we generally sampled everything, and by the end, getting close to the end, I'm like, oh, I gotta have one more pieces of that eggplant kebab where they had this really fatty lamb meatball that was in between the two pieces of eggplant, and it was so delicious. And then after that, like incredible meal, which I really truly felt was the end, we continued on. And so then where do we go, NJ?
We first checked out one of the little local chestnut stands.
Yes, the guy who was roasting chestnuts.
Roasted chestnuts, yeah.
And I think he was also doing corn too, so he was doing corn and chestnuts. And I don't think, even though I'm Canadian, and we have that song, Roasting Chestnuts by an Open Fire, I don't think I've ever had a roasted chestnut in my life. What did you think about that?
I actually didn't try it.
You didn't try it?
No.
So then we came to this one stand where you had this like larger than life Turkish guy, and he had this big mound of what looked like, we were told raw meat, right? And a lettuce wrap. So it was like raw meat in a lettuce wrap. I'm like, okay, well, you know, when in Turkey, you do as the Turks do. So we stand in line, and he was kind of not quite like the soup Nazi from Seinfeld.
No soup for you.
Amca, gece bir taraf oğlum. Bırak, hoş geldin, dankeschön, bitteschön.
Bitteschön.
Gracias.
Adios, asparandos, finitos, muchos.
Excelente.
Muchos gracias, muchos.
De nada. El gusto es de nosotros para verte finalmente.
Estağfurullah.
Estuvimos viajando mucho tiempo para verte.
Seni görmek için
Okey.
sana... Hold it, hold it. Seni görmek için çok yoldan geldim oraya.
Gel buraya, gel şunu.
Buyurun, nerede?
Adam,
Abi 3 tane kafe abi.
sen 3 kişiler mi?
Aynen bir tane anne var bayım.
Gel. Gel buraya kız.
Okay, get ready.
Come here, girl. Please. I'll eat
Picante,
it.
no picante?
Sin picante.
Sin picante. Sin picante. Picante? Ah, sin picante.
Nothing yet, nothing yet. Yeah.
Gel. Gel buraya.
Okay,
Ah,
gather
sin
it up, Eddie,
picante.
Eddie, yeah.
Ah, sin
Eddie,
picante.
Eddie,
Gel.
bring it over here. Yeah, okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, eyvallah.
Listo.
Adios, asparandos.
Adios. Nos vemos.
Muchos.
Wow.
Muchos. Adios, asparandos. Nos vemos pronto.
Like no
He was
soup for
definitely
you.
like the soup Nazi.
He was definitely like the soup
Yeah, you had
Nazi.
to line up and like.
and ask for your lettuce in a
Yeah.
certain way. So, and NJ wanted to go get a little bit of video of him, and then he just started kind of like yelling at you. And then you got it all. Then you came back in line with us. Anyways, he was a super sweet guy, but he's really popular on Instagram. He's got, I just like pulled it up here. He's got almost 38,500 followers. So we'll put his link in the description. So anyways, we stand in line, we have a little bit of a chat with him. He throws this lettuce at you, and then this ball, and then you wrap it in the lettuce and you eat it. But as it turns out, this is 100% vegan. So if you are looking for vegan options in Istanbul, Turkey, they're numerous. Like basically, if you're a vegan, you can live in Istanbul, no problem. Even though it's very meat forward, all the mezes, all the sauces, like all the fresh vegetables that you can get there. And then this guy is pretty incredible. This is the Taco Tuesday and it's never gonna end. But so like, aside from the food, you know, one of the things that I found very incredible with our tour, and also the next day we went and did more of a walking tour. But during all the time we were walking around was just the majestic nature of Istanbul. I mean, it is one magnificent city. Hey, NJ? Like, I don't know what it was about it that I expected or didn't expect. It was huge in a way like Mexico City, but it seemed to have an energy that was a little more even flowing. Would you say? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't so chaotic. Like,
it was chaotic, but it all flowed.
it all flowed.
Like in a weird, perfect way.
Yeah, isn't it, like, I think that's the best way to describe it. Chaotic, but it all flowed in a weird, perfect way. You know, but we got to see all the mosques, we got to see all this architecture, and like there's so much history there. And I as I said, like this could be like a whole separate series of videos for someone traveling even to Istanbul itself to like really, really break it down. That food tour took us through all these things. So it was not just the food, it was seeing all the wonderful and incredible nature of Istanbul itself. And then as we journeyed through the streets and the side streets, we then made our way to these final stops. And then all of a sudden, we thought, well, that must be it. But no, we ended up with these lamb kebabs. And I would say if you're in Istanbul and only got like a couple days, you got to hit this place for the most amazing lamb kebabs. That was our final stop. And then right next door were these meatballs, which were succulent and just so full of flavor. Even though I didn't have an inch of room in my stomach, I managed to eat one, and I ate half a kebab, but without the pita because I just had no room. Oh, NJ, I can't just wrap it up right there because we had one last stop, and this is very thing to do in Turkey, like especially after dinner or after walking around, you'll go to a tea house and you'll have some baklava and some tea. And again, Turkey is like, you know, one of the highest consumers of tea in the world, and we ended up with 3 different types of baklava, and we learned how to eat them correctly. And pick it up, turn it upside down, and then you eat it like that. This way all the syrups and everything get caught in that kind of crispier top. So yeah, so a big shout out to Ahmed and our other guides who took us around Istanbul. I want to put a link in the description for all of them because they did such a fantastic job. They made our trip to Istanbul that much more special, and I'm looking forward to coming back another year. I feel like provided the travel is still open next year, got to come back to Turkey. All right, everybody, thanks again for joining us for another Taco Tuesday here in Lindos, Greece, breaking down the Goralski summer vacation, and so looking forward to coming back to Mexico and seeing Paul and Daniela and all of our other family and friends, our cats and our dogs, and getting back onto moving to Mexi.co video schedule soon. Because yeah, we got some cool episodes lined up of Behind the Mexican Door and some really interesting ideas for some additional Taco Tuesdays. So on that note, everybody, muchas gracias, thanks, and nos vemos, hasta luego, and adios.